Battles in the sky, battles on the ground, battles all around as we enter the new meta of Rivals Fight Night. We're doing our best to catch all the action for you. That one was pretty easy. Big boom on the ground
Easy.
from Helena.
Easy.
I mean, from my perspective, it was pretty easy.
Bro, I'll sub you in right now. So help me God. I will sub you in, brother.
Dude, I didn't want to be hosting. So no, I'm not.
Look at him. He's fizzing in and out. Look at the static on that cam. He's barely there to begin with.
You know,
Dude, I just feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Do you know how many people I tried to pay to do this tonight who could not get available? So I'm like, fine, I'll do it. I guess I can turn on my lights.
Aren't you paying us extra because we have to cast with you?
No, you were actually not getting paid at all for the gift for casting with me. It is crazy. We are entering the finals. If you could not tell, Sentinels just 3-0 dunked on 100 Thieves. I'm sure you'll hear about that on their social. Here's how we got here through the night. Obviously, Virtus Pro won EU, but you should check out that match. It was very good. We will very likely see Patty Pim yet again next week because EU right now is having a hard time taking down the Orange Bear in Virtus Pro, but that was a great match. Check out our YouTube for that one. Challenger match, blink and you missed it. I know we advertised it as a battle of the Titans, but Sentinels gets the run back on 100 Thieves, who dominated them all through March. They 3-0 100 Thieves in pretty easy fashion there. They will take on upstarts, I guess is fair to say, Shikigami, who's won the last 2 fight nights against some good teams. This one could be a banger. As you see, Sentinels and 100 Thieves had dominated all throughout, and then Shikigami beat 100 Thieves, then they beat Envy. Still, there's doubters against them. If they beat Sentinels, who else is left there, Connor?
I mean, at this point in North America, you got like FlyQuest, who I don't know where they're at. I'm not really sure where they're at, to be honest. So there's really not a lot of options left for them to beat. So I do think for Shikigami, they've been tried, they've been tested, they've been looked really, really good. So this is their next big challenge to where they come through here. I mean, Shikigami, I don't think you can say they're upstarts. I mean, they're started up. They're past the startup phase. They're in
the disruption phase now, and then I guess I don't know what happens next. Venture capitalism is next. We'll have to get mutants in here probably next week to go against Shikigami. This is the lineup. Dace, Amadian, Crazemang, Scatter Genji, I want to talk about momentarily. Dinks and Ricky will be the supports. The interesting thing with how this meta is developing is Crazemang and Shatter Genji have been pretty much like locking in Groot and Magneto for the last couple of weeks, and they've been playing them at a super high level. So now with the meta shaking things up, Mitch, can they still force those heroes? And we've seen a little bit of them played, but it's been much more variety on the Vanguard line.
I don't think you can play that comp anymore, honestly. It's just not mobile enough. You can't react to those sort of very fast-paced, brawl tanks in your backline anymore with the setup. I mean, you saw Doctor Strange having to play against Emma Frost is very difficult, because he doesn't have anything baked into his kit that allows him to get her off him. He doesn't not have crowd control. He's about space creation just through overall durability and damage mitigation via his shield. So no, I think if you want to stay competitive right now, you need to start to move away from that. Perhaps there's a world where there's a triple Vanguard composition that features a Doctor Strange, but it's more likely you just throw up a TP because you want to try and fight on the point. For Shikigami, this is a part of, you mentioned it yourself. Last month, 100 Thieves won 3 times against Sen. This time, Sen are 3-0. So much can change month to month in Marvel Rivals, and if you want to find success, you have to go with that ebb and flow.
It's been very interesting. Just like you think like once a patch hits, then a team will figure it out. But it's been a couple weeks and we're seeing something brand new now. I mean, we all saw it last week, like, oh, new patch, bans protects. Oh, Emma's in. Okay, we'll see more Vanguard, triple tank, spawn camp. Okay, we got it. We're under wraps now. And now Iron Man is here, and we're running a Psylocke, and we're doing dive, and we're still figuring it out. I find it very fun. It's difficult for you guys, but that's why you get paid the medium bucks. It's been really interesting to see, and I love these metas where I don't know what is going to happen. I would like to see Super Gomez on the Star-Lord, but Star-Lord hasn't been played a ton. Avast, do you think Sentinels just kind of keep doing what they're doing? I mean, why not, right?
I mean, I don't see any reason to change here. It kind of depends on what their read on Shikigami is, because I'm not on the server, I'm not in the dugout. I'm not sitting next to Crimzo. I guess he's not the coach anymore, to be fair, but I guess I'm not sitting next to Crimzo either way. So I do think that for Sentinels, they want to be kind of just lock in and stay in the course. I think it looked good. It's been something we've seen in Europe, something we've seen previously. Like, it's clear they have a pretty good read on the meta in general, and they're throwing in some interesting choices throwing along with it. And Sentinel's also been a team that's not been afraid historically to have some pocket picks, in particular like the triple Vanguard. So I like what they're doing. I don't think they need to swap. It's kind of just dependent on if Shikigami has something crazy up their sleeve that maybe we're not aware of.
Of the teams that are remaining, it does seem, you know, and I've been defending Shikigami, I guess, because there's people in chat who are just, you know, if you're not a household name, you're not an old guard establishment kind of org, they're just like, wow, these guys are just, you know, flash in the pan. But Shikigami has not shown us a super ton of versatility, and that's the one thing that worries me about their compositions going forward. So I think they have a chance to do something different. I mean, the tank line worries me a little bit as far as their versatility, but I'm willing to be surprised. If Shikigami is going to continue and win a third week against another North American Titan, who do you think they have to get a performance out of, Mitch?
It's their front line, 100%. Yeah. I think that like Sentinels have gone to the ranked grind and found the #1 tank player from the ladder and yoinked them onto their roster. And I think that Crimzo has shown that they are just as good in this team. A lot of emphasis right now, I think, is going to be, especially if you're going to play like those more mobile compositions, it's not the damage you do, but just how much displacement and disruption that you can inflict and how much you can pressure, you know, those strategists. Strategists have had it easy, right? The amount of healing throughput you have access to in Marvel Rivals, yeah, it is insane. Now they had to work much harder under much more adverse conditions because the comps of this era are about getting in their faces, whereas in the past, it was about playing double tank frontline and sitting back. So we talked about it so much the last couple of weeks, like, oh, you can't dive this backline. Oh, like Venom doesn't work. Well, now you've got to be kept honest if you're a strategist.
The funny thing about strategists is Shikigami's strategy for bans has been to just ban 3 strategists. They've done it every week for about 3 weeks in a row, that they just take out 3 strategists so that they know exactly what they're going to play against in their back line. Do you think that kind of strategy would work against Sentinels, Vast?
I mean, definitely. I mean, I think overall, like, strategist, despite what Mitch, also, by the way, strategist mains, like, if you're mad at Mitch, you know, I'm
a strategist main
tonight. We're just working together for tonight. Okay, you can go to him. I'm 6'5", by the way. I'm 6'5", by the way. Now, besides that, also, I do think that, yes, a strategist ban order that Shikigami's been doing is always pretty strong in a game of Marvel Rivals because most teams aren't really focusing, like, a lot on, let's just remove strategists in general. Like, let's just focus in on one particular strategist comp for us. Most teams are trying to like focus on like, okay, we're going to keep our duelist picks alive. We're going to keep these, we're going to make sure to get rid of this Vanguard to enable this composition. Shikigami's been the only one so far I've seen that's like, let's just get rid of strategists in general. So I really like the idea. I think Shikigami still has a great concept there. It's more of a question of, are they comfortable playing some of the comps that we're going to be seeing, right? Like, are they cool with like, okay, maybe we don't play some of the more, you know, traditional compositions here because we really just haven't seen enough of them yet in this meta. So it's just a little early to tell. I would say in general, if you're a team that feels comfortable getting rid of 5 strategists or even, you know, or 3, 4 strategists, probably not 5, then I think that it's going to work out for you.
I trolled you by saying they should ban 5, didn't I?
You did. You accepted it into my head.
The gaslighting happens in real time here on RFN. One X factor I do want to talk about for Shikigami is Mello has been playing a ton of Torch. The Torches look good. Mello also will play a little bit of the Jeff if we want to do some EU type strategies. So that could be an X factor as we will go to Krakoa first. That map will be our first one to kick it off. And right off the bat, Sentinels continues to ban Kate Blanchett, otherwise known as Hela.
I mean,
I wonder how many Marvel Rivals players even know who Kate Blanchett is.
Like 2 or 3. I don't know. Have you seen Thor Ragnarok? It's fantastic.
I just know her as Galadriel.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a. Oh wait, she was. I didn't even know that. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know that she was Galadriel. I'm gonna be honest.
Crazy.
Okay, we gotta go past this. Shikigami, they've protected Groot. Not shocking because that's Krasming, and they banned Cap, which honestly could potentially fit where maybe they feel more comfortable with like a different Vanguard line for them, right? This could be just like kind of pointing them in that direction.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, the Human Torch Protect sort of makes a lot of sense. I think that if Shikigami want to play this more static, a little bit more lumbering front line, then just punishing them with, you know, a lot of duelists that can play outside of their purview is going to be a good way to go here. This also opens up the Iron Fist pick potential. If like your opponent is just like, you know, playing these like lower mobility, lower crowd control frontliners, then you can really punish them with that. So we might already see what they're intending to play as their vanguards of these protects.
I think if you protect both those vanguards, that should be your intention to play them. Interesting that Luna is banned. There's the Psylocke for Sentinels, not a huge surprise. Gonna go flanker. They're very likely going to be Gomez on that. See what the final bans come in and see how these compositions shape out. It's been such a learning experience tonight in both regions, just trying to figure out what is going on.
Yeah, I think the Luna ban hex, by the way, is really smart because it's a double-edged, like, it pretty much is double-pronged threat because it removes the potential for, it makes it a lot harder to play Human Torch because you don't get the Snowflake, right? You don't get the ability to get those heals out to your flyers as easily. Additionally, with Luna gone, you don't get the Iron Fist team up with Luna, which gives them that extra, finishing power, that extra damage. So I do think the Luna ban makes a lot of sense for Shikigami here. And Sentinels looking like they're just going to remove Rocket, which Shikigami, they've liked playing Rocket. This team has liked playing Rocket, especially with the new changes where you get a lot of burst healing, and they've removed Loki, which is pretty standard for them, where they want to target some supports. So and Sentinels has loved Loki, and also removing Loki means less sustain, way less sustain on the field.
Taking out the Loki was really interesting. The follow-up to take out Rocket by Sentinels is interesting as well. Both heroes that Amori has looked very, very strong on. All right, guys. I mean, you're used to the meta now. You said this was super easy to cast, and you've got a perfect grasp of it. So I expect nothing but flawless, impeccable commentary for the next, 5 maps. We're going to 5 maps, I guarantee it.
You're going to say 5 minutes, and I'm like, bet. 5 maps?
Very easy. So easily done.
We're going to kick it off on Krakoa. And with that, I will leave you guys to take over because, I'm tired of talking, and I enjoy your voices better than mine. Boys, take it away.
Thank you. Don't believe you. I feel like the kid in class with the veins in his forehead waiting for the throw, but I caught it anyway. Thank you very much, Hexgrams. Catch up with you afterwards. Shikigami versus Sentinels. Just how far have Shikigami been able to push the innovation? What are they going to come up with here that gives them an edge? It looks like Sentinels now with group protected are going to be happy enough, especially on a map like this, to bring him into their own fold.
Yeah, Krakoa, I mean, there's a lot of flanks, a lot of high ground here, so obviously Human Torch going to be a very big focus here for these squads, but also very big flanks possible here for both the styles of both these squads, or rather, yeah, for both these squads. You see a little bit of poking going out for Super Gomez already. And what's pretty interesting, too, is that with Loki gone, Shikigami's still focusing in on the Cloak and Dagger. Same for Sentinels, where they're just going to bring out a Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what you force. Shikigami have to spend a lot of bans on doing this, though, in fairness, getting rid of both the Loki and the Lunar Snow, but Sentinels realize that they don't want to deal with Rocket, so this is how it's going to be. Of course, good utility the Cloak and Dagger brings, but the raw output isn't always there. Scattergengi, though, able to get rid of Crimzo first. That's a nice start. Super Gomez at 7 health. You have to imagine the Martians eventually able to deal with them, but a much better start here for Shikigami.
We've been auto-correcting on the broadcast to Scatter Genji for so long, but surely it's Scatter Genji, right?
That's how I've been referring to them, yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying Scatter Genji. So I mean, like, my brain's been auto-correcting to Scatter Genji. But Shikigami there, be taking that first flip. Looking very good. A lot of isolation of Crimzo. And I think also being able to run Krasmang on this group, they're still putting so much pressure on a Crimzo, who, very good group player, but Krasmang has looked kind of next level on the group recently, and really good at surviving and putting pressure on the front line.
Well, Amazing's hoping for some deforestation here. Let's see, chip damage definitely coming down. Wow, Melophobia gets caught out by that one. They, ironically, travel too close to the sun there, apparently. Right by the ground, getting caught out by this tick damage. So, remember, this is a 50k player from that previous game. Yggdrasil Path, where Amazing had disgusting damage output. And if they remain unattended, they will threaten to run away with the game. They'll touch down for a moment to get rid of Ricky, and then, yes, burn the tree. Krasmang falls. The Sentinels are now in control.
He's so Saruman coded. The ints are gonna go to war and everything. But Shikigami falling there. They tried to milk that invisible boundary for as long as they could from Ricky, gave him a little bit extra bit of cap time, but just not enough down that player. Sentinels take control, hold on to the Dancing Butterfly. Not gonna be strategy up for Shikigami here, but I mean, pretty much just gonna be looking to poke for both these squads, looking to set up their duelists, try to find something happening, and Sentinels just looking to find a little bit of build on the approach.
A good lead to start with. 55% is pretty solid. Oh, okay, I like that. Sonic Surge to try and pull him down to the ground, but Ricky and Dinks get picked off. Remember, now you have a little bit less to answer this Dance of the Butterfly with so many strategists off the table, which seems to have hurt Shikigami, frankly, more than it's helped them, as they get torn to pieces yet again, and now Sentinels are poised to even up the game.
I do like the idea there for Shikigami. I mean, you even called it out there, Uber, is that, like, okay, we get that force physics, brought Rymazing a little bit closer, forced out some of the ults a little bit earlier for Sentinels, maybe finish that fight. So now they get to walk back in with more on the board, but still, it's just really because of how fast they went down, they just don't have anything in the bank for Shikigami. They just do not have much. I mean, they're pretty much hoping that the Silent Seduction maybe can counter Amazing, maybe can find one. That's exactly what we're going to try to do.
Okay, again, it's easy to underestimate the range of this Psionic Seduction. Jeez, we're amazing. Had to get the heck out of there. Crazy Man is low. That's a big problem, though. And Scattergengi, while it's a powerful ultimate, can't do anything else to create or, maintain space during it, outside of just sit there and hope to catch as many people as possible. Now Sentinels are in the lead. It was a bit of a maladroit beginning for them on this round, but now they're really off to the races. And, of course, they've got a Strangling Prison available. Crucially, an Invisible Boundary as well.
Sentinels, though, I mean, they have a lot of in the bank. They pretty much have a lot in the bank to still just hold the point, put a lot of pressure here on the Shikigami. As it looks like Shikigami, rather, they have to be careful of the early blade dance. Everyone, though, should stay alive.
Okay, we're going to see one come out here from Amanian. That one does one better. Aramori does fall. Kurova with an Invisible Boundary. Still wasn't enough to save their teammate. Center down to 5 now. You see Techi's going to be surrounded in just a moment. Does pop this Seduction. But again, it's really just to try and apply some control to the fight. But the advantage was already found here by Shikigami. Strangling Prison is at the ready. You might see Crimzo look to make use of that now. Try to get forward in this fight. Very healthy, very positioned to fight, but actually gets caught out in one of his own. Krasman goes for it now. Crimzo gets bowled over as a result. I guess the early mouse, the second mouse gets the cheese, but the early bird in that case, until it comes to Groot ultimates, is able to win it out.
Supernova still invested there for Amazing. I mean, finds Dinks as well. Not able to make it to the boundary yet in time. Probably going to find another one, or at least just put a lot of damage where they can finish it up. Surely. That's exactly what we're going to do. You see the heals, those very clutch heals coming out. And so now, Sentinels, despite being down some players, still in this fight. I mean, winning this fight.
Oh, man. It is wild. That Fantastiforce team-up ability was so important for Amazing there to stay alive. We talked about them. They're not really building compositions around those team-ups anymore, but if you just happen to have Invisible Woman and Human Torch in play, you could abuse it. Nicely done from Sentinels, especially considering that Crimzo got caught before he had a chance to throw his own Strangling Prison down. A nice bounce back, but these two teams have demonstrated they are competitive.
Right up to the edge there. And definitely, I do think the team-ups not as, I think, defining as they were, but it's still a central part of these compositions, 100%, like you called out. Heading into the second round, and Crimzo holds onto the Strangling Prison, which is great for an opening fight here, right? Because they know that, okay, Shikigami, they invested a lot in the previous fight. They're not going to have much if we just find one, maybe even two with the Strangling Prison here for Crimzo. Overall, the ult economy looking really strong for Sentinels as they continue to show that this team is not only just flexible, but they do have a lot of star power, a ton of star power on this squad. And I think for someone like Amazing, Super Gomez, who have sometimes taken a slight backseat in these triple Vanguard compositions for Sentinels in the past, and even on the Starlord comps, like, they look great. It's their time to shine. The Human Torch meta, the Psylocke, they look incredibly good.
And Amazing has more final hits than all of Shikigami combined, even after a fairly close round, which I think is pretty spectacular. Definitely a standout showing from the person on your string here. And already you can see how it starts off. That Invisible Woman combo again, you pointed it out on Idrisil Path earlier. Giving that little shield, little contact lens for Amazing to focus through and get topped up. Oh, there it is. That's the Strangling Prison.
Does anyone go down? Does anyone go down here? I mean, yeah, a lot of people go down. Super Gomez, I mean, this is just an ult advantage, though, mover, I must say. You see this fight happen. You see that the little poke that occurred before, and they went for the Eternal Bond very early. This was just the ult advantage. Wiping out. They used the Strangling Prison. They able to move forward. And now Shikigami, this is their chance because they didn't invest anything in that fight, really at all.
Again, they don't have the most powerful suite of ultimates yet until that Strangling Prison for Crazy Man. Like, never mind. He has it. All good.
He's got
now they have a pretty decent setup.
Gotta walk on forward here. A little bit of poke. You called out that Crazy Prison. Surely Krasman just gonna be looking for it now. Try to make some space.
Supernova. Popped instantly over the top. There it is. Dinks just ceases to exist, frankly. And that's a strategist ultimate off the table. Otherwise, it would have been available. That's rough for Shikigami. Their window, in which Sentinels didn't have any of those big ultimates, has kind of passed them by. Arsene can at least have a invisible boundary to counteract the Psylocke. That is brutal. They really had to be going there.
Now there's a chance, I mean, now that they have Melophobia onto the Wolverine, they could technically just be using the leap to take them out of the boundaries. boundary, I guess, outside of the barrier. They can definitely just take them out, make sure they don't get any of the value of that ultimate. They have enough burst to potentially burst some people through. So, and also they can still isolate some heals. So there's some options. Is teleport going to be used? Shikigami going for the long rotate back to the point. You're going to avoid a lot of the poke there for Sentinels. As still, we look to Krasbang. Surely you want to strengthen the prison.
Oh, okay, force physics to knock him back. He did make use of the prison, though. Invisible boundary now in play. In goes Crazy Man. Can't see the wood for the trees. He's blinded up, of course, by the enemy cloak and dagger. Psionic seduction active for Scatagenji, and he's going to be taking a fall. Shikigami did have to spend on this fight, but didn't have to make use of the strangling prison. Crimzo gets a second one in the time it takes Krasbang to consider whether they want to go for one of theirs. At least they're able to save it, but by goodness, 89% already built for Sentinels. It's taken Shikigami quite a while to get their ducks in a row.
And you saw the idea there for Shikigami where it's like, okay, we're going to use a Madian to try to force the strategy ult a little early, then maybe set up the Strangling Prison. But it went so well, they're like, okay, we don't have to use it. And the fight just keeps going longer and longer. And now Krasbang's ult is essentially fermented. He's making the kombucha of Strangling Prisons over here.
Doesn't make any sense.
It does. It sits for a long time. It becomes different, you know?
Yeah, I see. They've got the probiotic qualities as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Great for your gastrointestinal flora. Unfortunately, Krasbang died with ult again, Connor. So maybe the kombucha's got a little bit. It's got a bit off, mate. It's getting a little sassy. Let that sit too long in the cellar. Oh God, they're cooked, man. Melophobia goes down after having switched over to the Wolverine of all things. And yeah, Amazing sees a chance to throw down on this cloak and dagger. Dinks had nowhere to go. Shikigami just unsure of themselves. Tentative, never got a chance to use their bloody gorilla ultimate. Krasbang switched over towards Doctor Strange now. He's lost it now. Bro, that is brutal.
This is just, I mean, it's Jover, unfortunately. It's Jover here. And I do think for Shikigami, they have to be kicking themselves a bit because they kind of just econ themselves out of a potential win where they went to go force those ults earlier in that fight with the Madian and they hold on to it like, okay, we're gonna use it in the next fight, surely guys. Okay, no, the next fight, and then we have to swap. And sometimes it's just, you get so greedy that you just can't even use the ult at all. I mean, better to have 0 ults, I mean, rather than the team with 6 ults. So something about fitting through the eye of a needle, something about that.
Yeah, that's a biblical reference. I'd rather say perfect is the enemy of good, Connor. And that's what Krasbang was looking for. And it just didn't serve itself up. 16 final hits for Amazing at the end of the map to a combined total of 11 on the side of Shikigami. That hurts. Even Super Gomez exceeded the entire enemy team's output on his own.
Well, an interesting and small correction there for you, Mitch. Towards the end, you said Melophobia switched to the Wolverine. Had been on the Wolverine for quite a while, actually. That is how...
Call him out. Call him out. Call him out.
That's not good.
That is how little of an impact that Wolverine had, because I kept watching it. I'm like, oh, cool. We haven't seen a Logan here yet. Maybe he'll... Maybe... Well, okay. Well, nope. Maybe not. And then died with ult, and then nothing happened for it. So... I'm not really calling you out on it. I'm calling Melophobia out on it.
I will own it. That's fine.
That is how little of an impact the Wolverine had in that fight there. Very one-sided from Sentinels. Shikigami looked like they are a little bit lost, to be honest, because what they were running and trying to get things done, and I mean, just what we just discussed, or I brought up, is they were running the Wolverine, and you wouldn't even known they were running the Wolverine. Really got nothing from it. I guess I'm looking for answers, guys. Well, what's the answer for Shikigami here, Mitch?
Wolverine. So I guess Wolverine makes sense on the more like flatter maps because, again, proximity is really important to deny, especially if people are sitting inside like a cloak and dagger bubble healing up or something similar. Look, it can be very powerful once you're able to unleash them into the backline, but dude, against Emma Frost, like you're playing Wolverine, like it's pretty dangerous. You can get just kicked back or chokeslammed and sort of CC'd for a large amount of time. And once that regenerative healing factor passive of yours is popped, then all of a sudden you are much squishier. You can't really be nearly as aggressive. Pure and simple, who is doing anything about We're Amazing? Like, what is the answer here supposed to be? You can't really match their impact. Shikigami attempted to do that. And this is my concern even coming into the game. Can they play ball in this Human Torch meta? They opted out of that matchup, and that is a concession to me that if I see that over any more maps, I'd feel like Shikigami are really going to be without a chance.
maybe in broad terms, and I think I noticed this a little bit in the EU region as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Connor. My read is not always 100% accurate, but something I've always liked in games and admired with teams that have success is that they are the aggressors. They are the ones controlling the tempo of the fight and bringing the tempo, and especially when it comes to these heroes that are flanker heroes that you have confidence in. Super Gomez's Psylocke. Is that something that it might be correct that the teams that are winning tonight are the teams that are the aggressors in the most part?
I mean, typically, I think you're 100% right in that taking the initiative is almost always the better path, right? It's almost always, especially when you have options, when you have so much burst in particular with characters, like the current version of Human Torch with Psylocke, you have a lot of options. Just remove someone from the map immediately, even when there's ults on the field, especially because you feel so pressured, like, oh, I don't want to pop it right now, then the pressure gets to you, then you go down anyways. So I do think that Sentinel's been doing a really good job of keeping that pressure on. And it's not just about being the first to take the move, it's also just pressure in general. I think Uber called out like who's dealing with Ryamazing. So it's a combination of they're being really aggressive, and Ryamazing is just so aggressive on top of that. It's bringing so much pressure, not even necessarily going first, but just bringing the pressure relentlessly and just doing so much damage that these teams are struggling, in particular right now, Shikigami, to deal with that answer, to have anything to do with it.
It seems like a rock and a hard place where you're taking all the incoming damage, and now it's like, do we back up and heal, or do we push through it and try to be aggressive while we're taking all this damage? We're going in at half health right now. Sentinels just seem to have, well, I mean, I guess one of the better reads on the meta, and is it just because that they have the players to play the Torch at a high level, the flanker and the Psylocke at a high level? Is that being the main difference here, Mitch, or do you still think it's the Vanguard setting the tempo for Sentinels?
No, I mean, I think there are ways of beating this comp, but they keep banning it. Their first ban, what is their first ban every single map? Hela.
It's typically Hela. Yeah.
They're banning Hela. So, like, obviously, the Hela has that, like, hit scan pressure that can really punish flyers, and there aren't a lot of other viable choices right now that can do that. Winter Soldier is not a hit scan hero. The roster turn actually fires in a projectile manner, so it can be a little bit harder to hit those higher sort of airborne targets. So what, you're going to play Punisher? And
it's just, you know, play Black Widow. Apparently, you know, that's a thing, right?
That is a thing. I mean, you could resort to that, but then obviously you basically have the entire enemy team climb into your rectum with their dive tanks, right? They just set up in there, right? They wear you like a hat. So you have to, like, I guess, balance that. And I think the safest play normally is to try and mirror it. But we see this all the time in hero shooters. We got two teams trying to mirror and lose out. It's tough. Max V Phantom, thanks for the gifted. If you're forced to a situation where you have to play the same comp and you just aren't as good, you might just get blown out 3-0.
Well, Shikigami does have the next map pick in our format here. Down 1-0, they will pick the next map. It is Hall of Jalia. I'm a Tarantino fan, so I knew the D was silent. Is this going to offer any more differences for the comps going forward? Is this maybe help Shikigami in comps that they like to run traditionally, Avast?
I mean, Hall of Jalia has typically been a very strong Groot map still. So we've talked about a lot how their Vanguard line really loved to play Groot. They could do it there again. I mean, in the previous series, we just saw Iron Man getting played. So, but we don't really know if that's going to be something that Shikigami likes to play yet. It seems like that's not really quite their style at this time. Right now, it's kind of just up in the air of where this takes them. And really, are they going to focus so heavily on the strategist bans again versus maybe do we get rid of Human Torch? Right? Like, instead of like trying to focus so much on the strategist bans, we just try to get rid of an early ban on the Human Torch instead, knowing maybe we're not as comfortable in the mirror.
It's kind of one of those watershed moments here for Shikigami. Can they adapt is the question. You know, you're fine giving up one map. Look, they've gone to 5 pretty much the last 2 that they've been able to pull off victories, right? So going the distance against team, Shikigami's not a team that is clean sweeping at the top end. And they do take your advice, Avast. They do straight up ban out Johnny Blaze Human Torch at the first bat.
Yeah, that is about what I expected, and also protect on the Groot. So this is like the most Shikigami of all Shikigami opening bans and protects that could have happened. So for Sentinels, the question becomes of, okay, we've protected Psylocke. We know that Psylocke's still going to be on the field, probably still going to be pretty viable with like Emma Frost in particular. But like, where does this lead comp-wise for these squads?
You probably don't need to go to Iron Fist now in this current situation. I like it. They might be looking for like Mag Groot again, a little old school. Yeah, that's fun. Obviously, that also can really mess with like Lunar Snow and just having that burst capability. So Sentinels probably have to mirror. They probably have to play the Magneto as well, especially without the Emma being available. She feels like she can be a plug and play option there if you want like a shieldy front line. So it's the question of the other duelists for Sentinels. Are they still going to go Iron Man, or do they try and mix in like an Iron Fist? They have a Loki Protect here, which is not surprising. This would force Shikigami to ban Lunar Snow, but they've not been banning strategists so far in this rotation. So we'll see.
I
if
wouldn't
they
be
spend the
surprised if
last
they do
on
it right now, because if they do it now, that removes Iron Man. It removes the Iron Fist as well, the Fifi comp, because you don't get the Snowflake, you don't get the team up. Like, this actually is a really good ban protect, I feel, for Shikigami. I think this went pretty much as well as they could, because if Sentinels mirrors, they're happy with that. If Sentinels, the only question mark becomes, what if Sentinels plays like a Captain America comp? Like, what if they play this Captain America comp? What if they try to play like a very much encirclement type of strategy, this very heavy dive? And that's when it starts to get a little interesting here.
Shikigami did get the map pick. It is Hall of Jalia. They set the table for exactly what they want. They've got their vanguards on their comfort heroes. This is the moment where they try to claw back this series to bring you all of the action. It is going to be Uber and Avast.
Thank you. Connor, definitely a fan of how the ban of Protect there went for Shikigami. I think we've also seen like the Invisible Woman used to, supplement those flyers a little bit, so it doesn't entirely rule out the Iron Man option. We saw that sort of had to be done on the previous map, but I mean, Sentinels here. Already see Aramori like hovering the Invisible Woman. There also was a first ban Captain America from Shikigami last map. They've allowed that one to get through here. And his mobility, especially for attackers, will allow Sentinels to get up on that high ground pretty easily. I don't know if we're going to get Cap Jeff here, but I won't rule it out at this time. And what is this? Is that a Moon Knight for Shikigami?
That is a Moon Knight. So, I mean, there have been a lot of recent buffs. He's a lot more mobile. He gets the bonus health now. His primary fire is a lot faster, so he is a little bit more effective at dealing with flankers, and he's gone. So, and he's out of there. Okay, well, that'll be enough. Let's talk about Moonlight later.
I mean, yeah, Adam Warlock's hit scan. I guess we're going to mention that. Okay, so you have the Cocoon Revival team up there available for Super Gomez, which is ridiculous. I think you just can't say no to it in a situation like this. It is going to be that sort of triple strategist composition. Amazing is going to be on the mantis of all things, and I like this a lot. I think Sentinels have gotten onto a pretty good comp here. Armanian going to be a problem for Sentinels, as they do like to group up with the kind of front line they're playing here, and those arcs can be devastating. Crimso falls here because the damage is already done. They already have the objective on the road.
We had talked about how Hell is constantly banned. It's really strong as like a potential counter into those Human Torch comps, and you know what? It's still a very good also into like what we're playing into the Star-Lord composition, right? Now there is still potential to mirror the Star-Lord, and I do think the Star-Lord typically maybe not quite as up in the air, so maybe Winter Soldier some options, but definitely very good to have that gone as Boundary getting used. Ult's getting exchanged.
Soul Resurgence in play for Armadian here to answer Ricky's ultimate. Okay, I'm going to prove on both sides there, and Hand of Khonshu claims Techie. All right, so we are starting to see this Moon Knight get a little bit of value. Shikigami opting for a very, a pokey front line, for sure. What can Super Gomez do here? Kurova's going to be able to bring Sentinels back into the fight, but they will be low. Melophobia's able to clean them up after the fact. Kurova themselves is in the fray once more, and Super Gomez will have a second bite at the apple should he fall here. This could be a one-man job. Scattergenki goes so low, and over the top, the Blaster Barrage finally breaks through. Amazing. Got to get there with that extra damage, and somehow Sentinels hold out.
I mean, the Star-Lord just doing so much, even with the combo there. Such a brutal combo there, that Hand of Khonshu plus Strangling Prison. But the problem is, still, no Hela. Not a lot of anti-air options here for Super Gomez outside of Melophobia. So they don't have a lot of options still to keep the pressure onto Super Gomez. As, gonna get taken out by Madian a little early there, but it does come through the territory, because somebody's gonna peek, sometimes you get poked. As now, Sentinel's gonna have to play a little bit slower, knowing they're down one. Shikigami to come back in. Hold down the meteor rim, they're holding on to the copy.
Not again! Armadian, please!
Oh, man.
Bonus health ain't gonna help you there, unfortunately. Nicely done. Adam Warlock sets it up. The triple res copy's dirty, and oh, buddy. Fear it, run from it, still gonna come for you. Ricky ends up falling to that meteor end. The Sentinels dunk down on them, and that invisible boundary just doesn't do enough to stave off Sentinels. And so, second wave of them is about to come through. Scattergenki now with a meteor of his own.
The geometry?
Yep. Okay. Amazing does get caught out, and the wall does get blown in. Still set out to play with 5. Now they've got an invisible boundary of their own. It's one that forces Scattergenki back out of it. This is giving a lot of space here now to the attackers. And Shikigami eventually have to get back into the game. Melophobia is going to try and start it off here with a dance of the butterfly into the backline, but a great bulwark is given over to Aramori to keep her alive under that level of pressure. However, Melophobia won't be denied, and not a little contact lens is going to protect Sentinels if Shikigami want to fully commit.
Really well played from the Shikigami Vanguards there. Krasming hits a good wall. Make sure to have the metallic curtain just available to walk out of the boundary. So Sentinels have to walk forward. After the ult's used, Melophobia is there to get into the backs. This is exactly what you wanted from Shikigami. They're getting close to the combo again there for a Medium, but still a little far away from the prison. So they have to be worried for Crimzo. Have to be careful of this maybe an early strengthening prison for Sentinels. The damage.
Yeah, huge damage. If that Unk is not cleared pretty quickly, it's a problem. Also, Hana Khonshu, very powerful here. Who's Super Gomez looking for? Unclear at the moment because there's a lot of rejuvenation domains to play in, but they do not last long enough for Amadi to stay alive. Hana Khonshu was deployed, but it's unclear to see if it found any value. And now, of course, Karmic Revival is active. Amazing brought back into the fight with that ability. Kurova looking dangerous. They have all game. Super Gomez is happy now to fight dirty up here on the card, and Ricky's been singled out by Gomez. Blaster Barrage here just for a little bit of defense. Going to be given a bulwark, rather. And now Meteor M will have to be respected. It clatters uselessly into the screen, and we're going back for it again. Sentinels want to fight. Soul Resurgence is in play. Blaster Barrage over the top. Super Gomez is looking dangerous again. Beautifully done. Techie lands a touchdown. Dinks gets flattened, and that's Shikigami without their invisible woman. Another dance of the butterfly being committed here by Melophobia. They need to find something, but Ricky will fall elsewhere. Finally, Amazing is brought down, but the numbers just aren't favoring Shikigami anymore, and Sentinels more than happy to throw down. With over 90 seconds left to play, they should be able to get to this checkpoint.
Should be clean up here on point. Scouter can go down. There should be some late limbs coming out for Sentinels, which is exactly what you want to see so you can come through this choke, continue forward. And Super Gomez again on the Star-Lord. I mean, you asked, like, where was he targeting? I think he definitely was just looking to potentially solo Melophobia early in the fight, take a lot of pressure out, force out the regeneration domain, and more importantly, kept the pressure on Amadian when they went for the combo. I'm almost certain Amadian might have lost it, but I got interrupted. Yeah, I think that might have been why we didn't see any of the value there from the combo. So now, Sentinels walking forward. They're going to have the Galactic Legend available again. Strangling Prison going to be out pretty early, forcing a lot of it. I think the regeneration has been gone. Cooldown's gone, so maybe they try to send Super Gomez in now.
Gomez does not want to use that in the choke, though, if he can help it. But now, the Shikigami have moved out a little bit more. It's easier pickings for him. Amadian was the target, but they are going to be given a bulwark. But Crazy Man is just too far away from the rest of their team. And Super Gomez is going to get massive value off this. Trying to guess where Dinks has gone under the cover of stealth. He found him. Dinks gets caught out by the barrage, and Super Gomez is absolutely ripping ass on these guys. Skadageki trying to get back into spawn. Super Gomez finds 4 or so for the fight. And Sentinels now should be able to get through this choke into the cul-de-sac.
Now, I mean, I'm pretty sure ripping ass means something different.
Yeah, he's fighting on them.
Then I mean, okay.
Yeah, he's fighting on them.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, if that's the case, that I misunderstood that, but now I get it. As the engage happens again, Sentinels gonna pop some ults to come on in. They did use the Karmic Revival, so they're gonna have some people coming back up.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it ends up going in Crimzo's direction, which barely leaves a scratch on the wetted bark of Groot. Invisible Boundaries ready. Dinks also can copy. Melophobia switched over to the Jeff, and of course, has that ultimate coming online pretty darn soon. I didn't bother to learn it because I like to pretend Jeff does not exist. Here comes Skadagengi, though. Walled off for a time. Sentinels trying to regroup now as the Strangling Prison comes down. A good answer, at least, from Dinks here. It doesn't save them, though. A Meteor M still clashes into them as a rejuvenation domain timed out.
Only 60 seconds left.
I mean, this is gonna be some late. I mean, they tried to take Melophobia tries to take the Sentinels players into the spawn for a potential to punish, but I just don't think the damage is gonna be there. It did give a little bit of disruption for Sentinels, but unfortunately, Jeff Holt did not get much as Star-Lord, Galactic Legend up again.
All right. Skadagengi in the mix here. Galactic Legend thrown in. Super Gomez really has to commit a little bit more to find damage. Actually, Dinks is being, yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure. You can see how they're kind of trying to ignore Super Gomez, but it's hard to deny how scary they are. Now, to all the jollier folks, Sentinels don't necessarily have to finish the map here, just make a good push of it, and so far, not so shabby. But they're waiting for that next wave of big ultimates to come online. Karmic Revival, Soul Resurgence will be the first 2 that they go for. It's about getting rid of one of these frontliners. Krasmang has now switched to a very durable Vanguard and Captain America. Meteor M catches out Kurova. That is a massive pick here for the defenders.
Now, we did have that Cocoon, so he's going to be up again because of the passive. Melophobia gets found as well, so that means Karmic Revival's up. They're building closer to the Strangling Prison as well, so Sentinels, they have a lot of sustain in this fight. They can wait out the support ults. They can maybe just try to find one. They're not going to find one, but they are going to get some value out of there. Find Ricky there with the walls.
Okay, that's a big one. Ricky just getting a little bit too close there. to those verdant vines. Amani out of the picture already. Crimzo getting value with the group, baby. Never any doubt. Rolling back the years. This guy's a champion of yesteryear and maybe of tomorrow. Nicely done for Sentinels. A map completion here at Hall of Jalia sets themselves up for a commanding lead in this series.
Which side you're on.
And for Sentinels, I mean, they just continue to show that this team has so many different angles and threats. Shikigami definitely played it really well. I think this is like, it looks a lot better for them here compared to the first map, but overall Sentinels just showing that flexibility. And I think they're more than happy to get to put out some bread and butter for them, which is this Mantis, Star-Lord, and the Adam Warlock comp. Like, they love this composition. This is something they've played a lot of in the past. They like the flexibility. They love empowering Super Gomez. And right now, paying dividends.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got the scoreboard here. Super Gomez now taking over the game as opposed to it being amazing for much of the series. Really impressive showing from them. Tough here. I think I like the idea from Amadi and sort of going over towards the Moon Knight. Unfortunately, that is just a hero that is too easily punished by other duelists. You know, duelists that are really designed to win those one-to-one fights, which is just not something that Moon Knight is ever really concerned about until you get dove by one of them. Melophobia might roll the Jeff out for us here. And we have Raimazing on Iron Man for this defense.
A little Iron Man, which to be fair, I mean, we saw this earlier. Iron Man definitely very strong. You can play close, beam people down. Gives you a lot of options to still contest with the flyer. You see Shikigami keeping the Jeff up on the board. They're going to be using Melophobia to go for these long flanks. Try to just put some more pressure here. Set up Krasbang as well, looking for the dives, Amadian potentially. All of it just looking to set up, find potentially a strategist pick. Just take some pressure away from the Shikigami front line. As Melophobia, he's going. He's on the long flank. Jeff is Jeffing.
Yeah, look, and you get decent damage off these aqua bursts, right? But it does take time to bring your enemy target down. You do need to mix in some of the healing here, but Melophobia on an off angle could be a little bit of a nuisance. That is probably not where you want to be, though. Hide and seek doesn't prevent you from taking damage. It just mitigates it.
And this is a very hard comp to set up here as well, because we're playing against other very solid players like Kuroba. Like, Kuroba's going to be saving the force physics for every and dive, right? And right now, Shikigami, they're already swapping. They're like, okay, this is not going to work, because the Invisible Woman in particular, especially when you're a good one, the force physics just denies so much value for the initial dive, especially when you spend so much time setting up your Jeff, maybe your Captain America on the long flank. So they're just going to say, it's not even going to work. They're going to swap. The problem now for Shikigami is that there is really very little contest for Raimazing. Again, so Raimazing, outside of Melophobia, there's not much that's going to be able to deal with it.
And Raimazing is getting a lot of free poke damage. Already developed the blasters here, looking for a chance to make use of them. Crazy Man goes down to the Unibeam first, though, and there's no pressure on Raimazing whatsoever. Barely are they taking any damage. There are no duelists on Shikigami that can almost really interact with them outside of that good direct hit from Amadi and have to bring Raimazing down, especially as that pulse counter would have been a problem. Hand of Conchu at the ready now. Sentinels grouped up enough for it. No, Amadi wants to get out. They do not want to tangle, especially with Dink's falling. Sentinels losing their Iron Man unperturbed. They're happy to carry on fighting.
Oh, what a block there for Crimzo. Actual Captain America cosplay there. Goes in to block the meteor in to dive on up. So now Sentinels still holding on to the point. Even with the loss of the pulse cannon, they're fine. Stark Industries, they'll build a couple more. It's all gonna be okay.
Did you see also the Invisible Woman copy? There were 2 Invisible Woman shields there, just like, you know, obviously offering stacking healing to anybody in their vicinities. Normally, you just think about copying as Loki for the ultimate, but getting to, you know, throw a shield down and spend time in that form is really powerful as well. Super Gomez here will have to walk away, get topped up under stealth as we saw an invisible boundary just deny the damage from that dance of the butterfly. Melophobia now is in the back line. They do not have a dance to speak of, though, so they are just here to try and tease someone out of formation and pressure the mental bandwidth here of this Loki.
Melophobia just trying to find the opening, trying to take some pressure away as the Strangely Prison gets used. There's going to be the Hand of Conchu as well. Finds Kurova. That's a pretty high impact pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate, right? Strangling Prison, Hand of Conchu. Good combo. Pulse Cannon came in there, and Raimazing, unfortunately, again, unsuccessful in making good use of it. But it's a matter of time by here, and there's a pretty significant amount bought right now on the side of Sentinels. They're going to look to try and hold out for the rest of this round. 327 for Shikigami to attack with. And remember, for attackers, it doesn't get any easier from here.
No, I mean, this is just a hard map to attack all around. Even with the Conchu's Prison, the aptly named combination between the two, between Groot and Moon Knight. That's just one and ult. As Crimzo, look at him. He hit on the lip of the high ground and is waiting for the late contest. Has to make sure not to go down. Does get the Cape of Terror, gets the vulnerability, but gonna make it on out because that's capped. So now Sentinels still holding on here in a second. Looking to set up here potentially. If they got a mischief, they're closer to Dance of the Butterfly. So some ults coming up there.
Shikigami's probably going to dive back into the backline as quickly as humanly possible. Oh, see, a bit of a duel here. They're opting out of it. They don't want to deal with Melophobia. And they see the front line of Shikigami looking pretty healthy now as well. Dance, ready and waiting. Invisible boundary, but Supercomis doesn't have a chance to get inside of it. Pulse Cannon, surely? No? Amazing, 0 for 3 in the big 2025. Not what you'd like to see. Shikigami see an opening and they roll over Sentinels.
Drop the rose wilting emoji. The rose wilting emoji for the 0-3 on the pulse cannon there. Sentinels, I mean, what a good find from Scouter Gengi as well, who continues to be so solid on the Magneto. They get to keep their momentum going forward here. Krasbang setting up, using the walls to get so aggressive here on this high ground. Melophobia just denied this contest, but they have to make sure the Melophobia doesn't go down. Oh, a little too big for your britches there, folks.
Yep, once again, that fight looking to play out. Hand of Contrary coming down inside the invisible boundary, so Sentinels still have to respect this and walk away. Serious burst damage from that Moon Knight ultimate. Amadian barely gets the touch back down on the ground before Unibeam will sever them. And Scattergengi's going to be staggered out. So now there's an opportunity here for Sentinels to release up to stabilize. I like this from Crimzo. Great chase, good stagger. Pressure now as Dinks is not going to be allowed to walk back to their side of the map.
Oh, he's still chasing. Still chasing. He's chasing him down. The Capflation. Oh my god. Crimzo's movement. I mean, overall, Captain America is a very mobile hero, but I think Crimzo's been using him to the highest degree, just getting shenanigans, just like not being afraid to take the fights, getting extra card contests whenever possible. Definitely what you want to be seeing if you're on this hero, on this Vanguard. Early damage, a lot of damage here on the Krasbang.
Training Prison, devastating now. The response is okay. Super Gomez able to pick Amadian off though outside of that invisible boundary, and it will at least dissuade any follow-up on the Groot ultimate. However, Freedom Charge at the ready. Pulse Cannon, please, Primazy, I'm begging you. He's holding on to it for the time being. I respect it.
Look at him. Look at the poke. You don't need the Pulse Cannon. You're just completely uncontested. It's actually just the Willem Dafoe picture. He's just looking up into the sky. There's nothing they can do.
Okay, that's the problem for Shikigami's comp. They've switched over, of course, to a Winter Soldier. Amadian deciding that, no, it is in fact not a Moon Knight map. So how does Bucky change the fortunes here of this Shikigami team? Duck into the boundary. Ramazy now can fire out from its safety. Continue to pressure this front line as Force Physics threatens to yank him down. I respect the attempt for Ricky to try and follow up there with an orb. It's not happening though, and now Shikigami are falling to pieces.
By the way, just gonna put that out there. The Krasbang tried to go for it and they lost the Strength in Prison. So they don't have the Strength in Prison. Now they're going Doctor Strange for the contest, but it looks like Sentinels. I mean, look, they've trapped a little pet. They put a Madian back here. Like, okay, there you go. We're gonna keep you back here. They're just in the spawn, zooming around. I mean, that's map. Sentinels, I mean, they're looking so good in this new meta.
Stunning. I'm a big fan of this. I wondered if the Iron Man would be the go-to now with, Human Torch, the first ban for Shikigami. This hasn't worked either. And it feels like Shikigami have 5 out of 6 of their heroes sort of locked in. They're happy with them, but it was the Moon Knight and then the Winter Soldier pick that for me just seemed questionable. It seemed really hard for Amadian to have the required impact on the game.
Definitely.
It was one of those things where it's similar to the Wolverine pick that we saw previously, right? It's like when you start seeing these rotations of picks, and it's just it almost seems like they don't know what to do. It's trying to answer a question and it's not the right answer. It's just picking C on the Scantron and hoping it's correct. So yeah, it looks like Shikigami is just a little bit behind things right now. Although I was not surprised to see the Atom out of Sentinels, because Kurova has been playing that Atom in that role specifically and just crushing people on it. It's the damage dealing support. So Shikigami back to the drawing board, and they just don't seem to really have this one clocked or figured out. And well, I mean, you guys are the ones who are supposed to tell me, what do they do? What do they do to fix it? It seems like they're trying the Jeff. The Jeff got spotted out and killed with a rocket right away. Note to self, rocket launchers kill sharks. Good to know. But I mean, Avast, like, what do they do here? It seemed like they had their map, they had their picks, draft went well. What went wrong?
I mean, they still, I just continuously, they don't have an answer to Raimazy. With the Hella being banned, you'd think, okay, like, essentially you don't have a lot of options here in terms of, you don't have a hard anti-air hero necessarily. So you're looking at either like mirroring, you have a flyer of your own, or ignoring the flyer and just winning the fights on the ground early, which is pretty hard. Which, to be fair, is kind of what the Moon Knight comp is sort of looking to do. Just not really that successful though. Just really not. I mean, Super Gomez and Amazing just getting to run roughshod over them in terms of just not getting contested, whether it be on the Star-Lord, whether it be on the Human Torch. It's been a continuous theme throughout the whole series.
So Mitch, obviously a Star-Lord of the caliber of Super Gomez is a terrifying prospect to deal with, especially when you're playing supports, and I know that you're a strategist at heart. What would be your answer or your call to your team when you just keep getting dove by this Star-Lord and he's, 1v3ing your squad? What do you do against him?
There's no world in which you can't emulate that. I think it is pretty clever for Sentinels to notice that like the Adam Warlock Star-Lord strategy is available to them. It does force them into like the interesting position of needing to pick the Mantis up to really get full value out of that team up. It's probably one of the remaining team ups in the game that is the kind that can actually shape your team a little bit. I think Shikigami maybe sort of see that and go, having 3 players that can res plus Karmic Revival is really annoying to play into as as defenders. The attackers are just going to sort of keep coming. So you could, you want to try and I think adapt and maybe pick a similar composition at times, or you can target it. What I wonder is just how much these two teams are scrim, because Shikigami's ban strategy has actually differed drastically over the first couple of maps. So they're still calibrating to what they're seeing from Sentinels. And this happens a lot. Like early on in a meta, there's usually 1 or 2 teams that very quickly cotton onto the right idea, and some are still in like the exploratory phase and trying to find what fits for them. That to me seems like what we're seeing here from Shikigami. So I personally think we're looking at a 3-0 because Shikigami can't match Sentinels in the mirror, and I don't know if they're super sure what comp they want to be playing against what Sen are offering.
It seems like it. Now, Shikigami is going to get just a little bit of serendipitous fate here. We're going to take a break a little bit early. We've got a ghost in the machine on our production end. So if you're watching on YouTube, keep hanging out on YouTube. That seems to be working just fine. If you're on Twitch, well, you can't hear me right now anyway, very likely. So we are going to take a very quick break while we work out some of the flaws, give Shikigami a little bit more time here. That's the cover that I'm using. And we will see you guys back in about 5 minutes. Welcome back. Maybe. Probably. Very likely. We worked really hard to try to get the stream back up and running for maybe 1 more map, maybe 2 more maps, maybe 3. Shikigami. It's getting folded up like origami. Yeah, I'm that clever this late in the day. Sentinels are 2-0 up on Shikigami after dismantling 100 Thieves earlier. And with the meta shifting as quickly as it has, Sentinels really just seem to have a good bead on what is happening here. And what is happening here, I guess.
We're exiting the replay.
See? What kismet that ended up being. I'm back here. I'm Hex, I think, still with Uber and Avast. Guys, briefly, catch us up. What's going on? Why is Shikigami looking so bad? And, just what ends up being the problem? What's the answer? Just let's go as quickly as possible. Avast, problem answer.
I mean, you saw right there in the replay before we exited it. It was just like you're seeing plays get shut down. You're seeing Crimzo make great moments. And overall, Amazing, Super Gomez, they are not being stopped. They're running rampant. And the bans, the protects, even when Shikigami looks their best, they're still having great answers across the board. Their comps are super flexible.
You concur, Mitch?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like Sentinels have so many different options. We haven't even seen like the triple res comp yet in this series, right? They make it look easy and they look really good. It can be Human Torch, it can be Star-Lord, it can be Iron Man, doesn't matter. Sentinels seem to have it all. We need to see Shikigami find something that works for them. I'm not even saying copy Sentinels. I'm saying find something that works for you and puts everybody in your team in positions to succeed.
Right, it's been kind of harrowing to see Shikigami. I mean, especially that last map, right? It's like, oh, I like this draft. I like this map pick. They are on their best heroes. And then there were moments where it's just like, Super Gomez like, oh, that's cute, and I'm going to kill both your Vanguards by myself alone. And also, if I don't, I'll probably just get rezzed. It's got to be frustrating as Shikigami is going back to the well. It is their map pick yet again as the losers of the last map. They're going to go to Symbiotic Surface. They've tried their comfort picks. They've tried to play different comps. They've tried to mirror. None of it has worked. Avast, what is their best chance? Do you think they just go back to their Groot Magneto that they've been trying to go with? I mean, it looked a little bit better, but you know, you tell me. What's their best shot here?
I mean, their Groot Magneto is nice. It definitely didn't pan out the way they wanted to. I think right now, barring anything else, it might be their best bet potentially, because it didn't seem like they're particularly strong on some of the other mirror matchups. It doesn't seem like the Captain America is something that's really their forte. It felt like even though they lost that last map, it looked a lot better. It felt a lot better for me than map 1 still. Even though they didn't have like a great performance. So I really like kind of the angle they were going for. There's not really much they can do. They can't get rid of every flyer and then also get rid of the strategist and also get rid of the vanguards. They kind of have to focus it on one area, and it felt like the best area was maybe just removing the Iron Fist, removing, you know, the Human Torch, and trying to maybe focus more on like an Iron Man centric comp potentially, or a triple res comp for Sentinels to try to play into that.
We'll see. Like the question always is, do we play what we're best at? Do we take away what the other team is best at? Sentinels have just been taking away Hela. That has been the consistent thing. That you just can't take Hela because we're gonna try to run flyers on EN flankers, and it has worked out so far. What do you think of these initial bans from Shikigami? Initial ban Protect, Mitch?
Crimzo looked so good on the Captain America in that previous game. Like the solo block of the Meteor M was definitely a special moment, but there are a ton of other things that he offered. Sentinels will protect this Human Torch. They, you know, Shikigami feels like Crimzo's a bit more of an issue right now, so they're going to play their way. I'm looking at Shikigami to answer to me. Are they going to mirror this? Can they mirror this effectively? They definitely can't target a bunch of strategists now. That's just not in their wheelhouse. They're realizing, excuse me, just how problematic Sentinels frontline has been. So they take out 2 of their potential options, and this time they want to maintain the Lunar Snow. So likely Loki Luna, if that isn't banned.
This looks like the most not Shikigami draft ban phase ever, because they're banning Groot. It's got to hurt Krasmang really deep down in the soul, and now they're protecting Luna. So interesting stuff coming out. What do you think we're going to see here from Sentinels as their final ban here of Est?
I mean, they're not going to ban like Loki. Like maybe they get rid of, I mean, oh god, maybe a Rocket again. Maybe just get rid of a Rocket because Shikigami likes playing that comp. I think it's pretty interesting for Shikigami in general, because they're like, it seems like they want to take Crimzo off some comfort picks here with both the Captain American and the Groot being banned, if anything. So that's typically what he's been playing the majority of. So, I mean, maybe a Rocket. I could see that. Yeah, it's going to be a Rocket. So, because they know Shikigami likes to play it. So, now it's just a question of, does Shikigami want to get rid of, like, a Loki or something? Like, do they just want to deny Sentinels the ability to play Loki again, which will take them back into, like, probably a Cloak and Dagger territory.
We will see final picks. Nothing has worked out so far for Shikigami. I'm still rooting for a little bit. They're going to take at least 1 flyer out of the air, as the Iron Man will be the final ban for Shikigami. An interesting phase. You know what I do like about this for Shikigami, though? So many teams, you'll see they lose a couple maps and they just keep running the same thing, slamming their head against the wall. At least they're trying something. They're mixing things up. They're like, banning this didn't work, banning that didn't work. Let's ban Crimzo's heroes, I guess.
But Ryan Mazing is only going to play one of Human Torch or Iron Man. Like, I don't think we've seen any scenario where Sentinels try and put both their duelists on flyers. So I'm not sure if that's really a last ban that makes any sense to me.
Well, I think at the last ban, maybe it's just a little bit of fatigue coming in of just whatever. Let's ban something. Let's get into it. Let's try to finish this out. Shikigami has had a miracle run the last couple of weeks, taking down some of the best teams in North America. It seems they have finally met their match in the Sentinels, as Sentinels 3-0'd 100 Thieves to get here, on the verge of 3-0ing and winning Rivals Fight Night number 8. Mitch, Connor, take us away.
I guess maybe like there's a world where Shikigami don't want Sentinels to be able to pick like an Iron Man into their Human Torch. Obviously, Uni being really powerful against Human Torch, you can sort of win that duel pretty well. Human Torch doesn't necessarily want to dogfight, so to speak, but we'll see. It's going to be Shikigami on defense first. So Sentinels will have the chance to take their measure now as they come on out with the Iron Fist and the Human Torch look. So Super Gomez can deal with airborne targets and also groundborne ones here, but perhaps doesn't want to tangle with the Hulk straight off the bat.
Maybe we'll take care of those two, but as soon as we get the first like sea-based map, can he handle seaborne based targets? That's gonna be the question. But I think overall, the problem for Shikigami's ban is like, okay, we moved Iron Man, great, but there's still gonna be two duelist picks that Sentinels have been very comfortable with here, right? With the Iron Fist and also the Human Torch. So it's gonna be a slog here for Shikigami to make something happen, and they are making it happen so far.
This is really nice. I mean, they've been able to play defensively really well. Amadian able to avoid Rymazing, then gets the barrier deployed. Again, a map that definitely favors the defenders in this first area. Might take Sentinels a couple of goes here. Shikigami do a very, very good job and crucially start to build towards some of those key ultimates. Kurova had a good game. It's going to be Super Gomez switching off the Iron Fist now, giving a bit of a team up activation, but importantly, showing us that Psylocke that's been very good so far.
I like the swap here. Just another opportunity to pressure the backline here a little bit more, because though you say like, oh, Iron Fist is good at that. Yes, but also not nearly as good as just instant executions. Does put a lot of pressure though, since we're trying to walk again. Techie, see, a lot of damage. Oh. Great grab. Oh, exactly what you want to see from Amber Frost.
Connor, that was off of force physics from the backline. Kurova sets that one up for Techie, and it's a Psylocke that they end up catching. One of the best and hardest to hit targets with that combo. Remember, it's like a command grab for your Emma Frost. So if they're not directly in front of you, you are not going to grab them. Really hard to line that up, but beautifully done. Here with Dodo, rather fate of both worlds here for Dinks. Rymazing has to respect this, and look at the benefit he's getting out of that Invisible Woman shielding. Be able to come back in with Supernova in this next fight. Melophobia had already made use of theirs, but it's time now for Sentinels to get in there. Great Exile connected by Crazy Man here, but unfortunately it's too far extended. Going into Hulk Smash to stay alive, but it is a very short-lived run.
Oh my god, they actually said like, just be gone, Hulk. They dropped the dance of butterfly on them too. They just immediately turned on them. There's gonna be the cleanup here for point. And what was a good recontest there for Shikigami. Sentinels there with the focus fire, just immediately deleting Krasmang. I mean, that's just exactly what you want to see. The grab opening it up too, so multiple plays of Sentinels just continue to keep momentum going, find some late stagger, some late limbs here. But not an awful first evens there for Shikigami. There definitely seems some signs of life.
I mean, no, they did great. Their first defense was very solid. Unfortunately, like, they just get their Psylocke picked off straight away. Their Hulk gets bursted down. Bunch of stuff that you really can't afford to have happen to you now. As Crazy Man obviously doesn't have access to that Hulk Smash anymore. Never really got to use any key component of it. Here comes a Supernova though from Melophobia. Immediately, Super Gomez fancies to get the heck out of there. Meteor M now gets no charge, so already a little bit of damage on Crazy Man, but will knock him into puny banner form, while Crimson chooses to give up that high ground. A real Magneto aficionado, this guy, so he's definitely in his comfort seat. Scattergigi can't get away from the poke damage of Rymazing, and Super Gomez is questing psionic shotgun, crossbow, whatever. It's risk mounted, so it can be whatever you want it to be. His Melophobia, unfortunately, has to deal with the low roof. It's an easy pickup again for Gomez.
And, you know, he didn't technically get knocked into the puny banner for him, but he might as well have been, because he was on 1 HP for probably 20 seconds of that fight, just waiting to get packs, trying to preserve the Hulk form. And now Shikigami, I mean, they're not even able to recontest. They won't make it back in time, more than likely. They put Scattergigi, okay, they put Scattergigi on the Strange, so they are going to be able to recontest. They want to go for this. They're going to come out, but they don't have a lot of ults in the bank, so more than likely, this is just going to be kind of an ult feed here. This should just clean up. Oh, Dinks gets faded with Worlds.
Taking low. No key healing ultimates here for Sentinels. Shikigami have it, but Armadian still not in the fight regardless. Rymazing, oddly enough, getting taken down by a Hulk, so you can puzzle yourself together how that managed to happen. Crazy Man with the mobility to reach those higher, harder to reach places perhaps. As they dance to the butterfly, ends up taking down the Human Torch. Scattergigi here on the Doctor Strange. Desperately getting topped up here. There's an invisible boundary. Sentinels need to just pace themselves in this fight because there are significant healing resources for the defenders to lean on. Techie, though, unfortunately cannot boast the same.
Krasmang trying to chase them down. The Hulk just doing so much value here to get these AoE shields coming out from the Indestructible Guard. Get some exiles when necessary. You can chase down some of these limbs. Just keep the pressure on here. Gonna force a Supernova out for Rymazing. The recontest gonna occur now.
Meteor M active as well. All right, Ricky ends up falling. Force fixes for Kurova. Ended up finding the mark, and Crazy Man again just chunked down. 1,500 points of health gone in a flash. Techie was able to bring Crazy Man down with that Maelstrom. Amanian's looking for a play off the Dance of the Butterfly, but it's such an easy answer for Aramori. She just throws that Fate of Both Worlds in, and this should be a checkpoint now. Amanian can only look on as this map gets further and further out of the defender's grasp.
And for a last second contest there from Scattergigi going onto the Strange, that it's a lot of value still. Got the time off the clock. Got some more Got some more just ults burned. So overall, the clock not looking too good here for Sentinels, but not looking bad either. Because remember, Symbiotic Surface, it's a tough map to finish. It's not necessarily gonna be the easiest. Not Hollow Jolly tier, but still pretty hard. So Melophobia, hold on to the Supernova. Gonna be looking to engage for the next fight. As Super Gomez goes in a little early.
He's so deep. I don't think the rest of Sentinels were really set up for that. Or unless, where did he pop that up? You know what? We're gonna move on. Regardless, it passes without a major event. Melophobia just looks to force back now. Of course, they popped that Supernova, so was really looking to, fight if Sentinels were threatening to. Disengage from the attackers now. Draws that ability out of the Human Torch. There is a fate of both worlds for Dinks. That's the only ultimate on the field right now. And Super Gomez and Rymazing are struggling. The duelists here for Sentinels need desperately to be topped up. Good pressure, good poke here from Shikigami. Are making a half of Sentinels to actually find a spot to engage on them.
And the strategist ult's up for both Shikigami, so they do have some sustain here for this fight. And with Rymazing about to have the Supernova. Melophobia getting pressured early. Gonna stay up. That's exactly what you see. You see some of the dives come in. Just keep them up. So now Shikigami, they continue playing slow, but Krasman gets found.
Yeah, again, just bursting the Hulk down. That is huge. Now, Rymazing could just sort of wait this out a little bit. Meteor M could cancel this out entirely, and then you can Supernova into it. Yes, Crimzo finds two. What a bargain. Dink's going down crucially, and Sentinels realize none of those extra ultimates they've banked need to be used. So they can come back in with the, of course, with the Seduction and a Supernova. Very, very frightening here for Shikigami to deal with. Dance of the Butterfly likely just gets counted out by the invisible boundary, so you can throw that one away. Both Emma Frosts have their ultimates though.
And they force those cooldowns out so early. Melophobia gets found on the cross too, and that's exactly what one of the Sentinels, where they go to the spawn, they force out the guard, they force out the Guardian shield. So many cooldowns early just for the cross, and they get the pick. And now, I mean, Rymazing, he's healthy. Now the freeze, maybe gonna put a slip on this, but that does touch.
No touch. Forget about it. We don't touch here. No touches.
I mean, Mitch,
Brutal.
this has to be like, I don't think we've seen so many no touch, like no contest in a game, in a just day in general.
That first game really threw me for a loop. There had to have been 3 or 4. In that situation though, it was pretty awkward for Shikigami to do that. Melophobia got caught inside a psionic seduction, so they were getting pulled down towards the ground, which means it's basically anyone can pick off the Human Torch. It's one of the few abilities in the game that are pretty easy to hit, i.e. just aim the massive cone at them and basically render those otherwise really nimble flyers completely immobile. Great game for Kurova so far. Been really impressed. No deaths at all on that invisible woman. And you saw a couple of those force physics moments there really causing problems for Amadian. And on that first fight, setting up a massive chokeslam for Teki.
Definitely. I mean, that's the pressure from Sentinels, and they continue to look so good here. You see the replay that Uber was talking about. Just have that psionic seduction, just making it just so annoying. And it doesn't really matter because they're just too far away from the point. So now, Sentinel's going to be on the defense. Shikigami, they know where they need to go. And where they need to go is to the end. They need to get the full cap. And potentially rolling out here with a Venom. Potential Venom offense here, which we haven't seen really any Venom today at all.
I guess I gotta wonder who you are trying to dive. Like, honestly, Invisible Woman?
I think
not
you're trying to force out like the strategist cooldowns here potentially, like, and you can keep a little bit of pressure depending on where like Super Gomez or Rymazing's playing. You can maybe pressure out some DPS, but it's mostly to force cooldowns out of the strategist.
Obviously, pretty difficult with Emma Frost at large. Nothing hurts Venom more than that hard crowd control, especially if it renders him unable to make use of his shielding at low health. Rymazing trying to set up here to deny any access to this side route, but has to respect Melophobia. They also are trying to encroach through that area. Wall getting blown out would have exposed Krasmang there had he hung around long enough, but they're going to wrap around. So Shikigami now with that high ground position ready to drop here. Rymazing though has got the architecture set up on the low ground. You can see it, and Ricky just gets flattened. Goes the way of the dodo there, or rather the entire dinosaur species, I guess. Rymazing finds the meteor connection. And they're getting poked down by Melophobia, not really doing anything about it because they believe the damage is already done.
I mean, and they needed that to happen earlier, is the thing, like, right? Because you see Melophobia gets these picks, gets this challenge earlier, but before that, Melophobia needs to be challenging. Someone needs to be challenging Rymazing so he can't get a free dive. Just a free meteor dive just into the back. Gets a pick, denies the strategist, most importantly, too, especially in these opening fights. Without a strategist, just the fight can't continue.
Now all eyes are on Krasmang right now. They need to find a potent dive. Right now, they're just trying to stay out of line of sight, and they've done well. straight for the Lunar Snow, or rather the Invisible Woman. She just double jumps out of there. Krazmang's still healthy enough and still has, of course, that shielding available, but what does your team do now that these heads are turned in the direction of the Venom? Another dive back in, Aramoni, instant freeze. And Krazmang, unfortunately, has been a warm prop. He is the person playing as the tree in the high school play.
Yeah, I mean, unlike the tree, though, I mean, the tree gets to go home, have a nice time afterwards, be like, it doesn't matter how you did, but Krazmang, unfortunately, wanting to win here and just not getting the value. And Sentinel's playing this so well because they're just seeing Krazmang in the back, like, okay, we know we have ults. We can ignore him. Like, he's not a threat. He's not a solo threat. Unless he has that Feast of the Abyss, it's unlikely he's going to burst anyone down. So we'd rather just look forward, get some picks, knowing there's one less Vanguard just looking to deny the value we can walk forward with.
Okay, there we go. There's that little flame wall being thrown up. Super Gomez finally falls. That's an opening now for Shikigami. Can they exacerbate it? They've been patient. They've been put up all of their ultimates for a fight just like this one. Dance of the Butterfly descends on Sentinels now, but of course Aramori has a Fate of Both Worlds to counter it out. Krazmang with a Feast of the Abyss at the ready, chomps onto Aramori and takes the strategist out of the game. Big pick now and a player advantage established for Shikigami, but Sentinels aren't done yet. Crimzo now looking for a Meteor M and sends it into the backline. It looks like it's blocked out, or at least does not find any lethality. Teki desperately has to throw up the shield, get away from the fight. It looks like Shikigami may have done enough.
Riki test unlikely to happen. Oh, they're going to send in one last second. Super Gomez comes in immediately down, and now they've lost Super Gomez. They didn't get any time on the bank, and they're going to get caught. They should all get caught here.
Armanian falls, and now Sentinels in a bit of an awkward spot now. Nobody with the bandwidth to look up and deal with Melophobia, who will add it to the tally of damage once again, banishing the defenders back to their spawn.
So now Shikigami gets a roll on forward, takes some advanced position. Amadian goes down a little early, but that's fine because you are Psylocke. You're going to be very quick. And the benefit here is that Melophobia has a shield. Rymazing does not for this early poke, but it doesn't really matter too much because they're not going to be able to fight too much. And now you look at this fight. Okay, Psionic Seduction, Meteor M. Nothing that really is going to be just like, okay, insta-fight win. For Shikigami, in fact, they have to be a little bit more careful just because there's more options for Sentinels to just bust it open here with the Psylocke, with the Dance of the Butterfly, and the Psionic Seduction.
Jeez, Melophobia is causing so many problems right now. Great damage here on the bridge. Krazmang happened to soak up attention and damage in equal measure. Karova spotted there towards that low ground, but Melophobia wants to punish everybody grouping up. And finally, Sentinels are forced to part with that invisible boundary. They're going to use it, though, to try and get into an offensive stance. Krazmang gets brought down by Rymazing. Shikigami has nowhere to go right now. They can't move up, but now an invisible boundary for the attackers might yield some more results. Shikigami pushes up. Meteor M at the ready. Force Physics dragging Sentinels into the waiting arms of Shikigami. But they go for Psionic Seduction here. No big connection. Looks like Shikigami was able to shield off some of it. And a Fate of Both Worlds is now active for Shikigami. This is a slowly losing fight for Sentinels. They get dinks, but will that be enough? As Melophobia trades out on the Magneto.
And even though Krazmang went down early, there's still a lot of value coming out from the Feast of the Abyss. Meteor M, though, not finding much. And Sentinels, they might be able to scrap their way back in here. I mean, the damage here from the Duelist, they're just finishing up.
Krazmang here couldn't quite chase down Super Gomez, who was virtually 1 HP. They have to get back there. That looked like a good fight for Shikigami, and they felt it too. They spent all of their ultimates on these last couple of engagements, and now we're in a trough. Sentinels have favorable positioning, easy access to high ground. Rymazing causing all sorts of issues across the map. It's definitely a favorite scenario for the defenders. We're now getting inside the 90-second warning for Shikigami to get this checkpoint.
Krazmang's being farmed. My Venom is being farmed. It's a farm to table Venom. I mean, he has no symbiotic resistance. He's just dying in the room. Surely he goes down. There's no way he escapes. I can't believe it.
Maybe this hasn't garnered enough attention. Good ult battery for the backline. Krazmang.
I think the giant blueberry should be pretty attentive, but that's fine.
Oh, okay. You know what? You might be right. Krazmang still eventually gets his time in the sun now. Maybe too close to it if he tangles with Rymazing for too long. The illusions of Magneto causing some problems here for Shikigami. They're not really sure who to target up on that high ground. Krazmang into the backline. Nice little dive. Cellular corrosion pop, but the damage is going to come thick and fast. And Krazmang can't see where it comes from. The Force Physics drags him back. Another beautiful play from Kurova on top of an invisible boundary that guarantees Sentinels another fight win.
It looks like Shikigami, though, they're like, we're down 1. We're going to commit. But the problem with doing something like that is that, okay, yeah, the strategists can just patty kick each other. They keep each other alive. They didn't have to commit a strategist ult. And now they've committed more. Ricky's committed a boundary. Sure, they find Kurova, but they need to find more for this investment to be worth it because, I mean, it's last fight.
Big chance here for Super Gomez. Invisible boundary not available, but the dance doesn't really seem to find too many partners. Melophobia looking to poke them down. Shikigami is just hoping to try and control the positioning of that Human Torch. And Scattergengi is zoning with this Meteor M. It doesn't find a kill, but it allows the Symbiote to move a bit further forward. Crazeman getting farmed again. Yep, another force physics to drag them on back, and now they don't have the shield to stay alive. That's going to hurt the attackers. Melophobia's got to go ham now with this Supernova, trying to pressure away, but the Meteor M is a scary prospect if you're the Human Torch, and Diggs from downtown. Crimzo dunks the Lunar Snow. And now Shikigami are on their last legs. Ricky, Rymazing in a duel. Melophobia gets involved, but there is no touch of the card. There is no hope. There is no dub for Shikigami as another money match goes the way of Sentinels.
And we've been singing the praise of the duelist here, but really just Crimzo, I have to give a highlight for someone that's been a coach off and on for this team, coming into play whenever necessary. Just what a performance here across a variety of Vanguards, and then snipes on Magneto. The Magneto play has been incredible for Crimzo too, and Magneto is such a central part of a lot of these teams here when you have to deal with the Immerfrost, when you have to deal with the Human Torch, when you have to deal with just so much value that can only be blocked by the Bulwark. So well played from Crimzo, but really just Sentinels as a whole, across the board, looking very, very polished in this meta. They have a multifaceted amount of threats. They've added just a new comp into their repertoire that they can be happy with. It's like, okay, we have a triple res, we have a triple Vanguard, we have the 222, we have the Immerfrost, we have the Human Torch. Like, they just keep adding more and more tools into their toolbox here, where some of the teams that could match them across those comps just don't seem like they can keep up here in this newest meta right now.
What was astounding to me is that Super Gomez got pretty shut down most of that map. Like, a lot of first deaths, a lot of, not finishing the blueberry, as you mentioned, which was crazy, by the way. That was the lowest Venom should ever be. I can't believe got out. But it didn't really matter because Rymazing was just carrying a lot too. What was interesting too is Shikigami really early in that match when it first started, like, Shikigami's just watching the wall get blown up in front of him. They're like, hey, you guys seeing this wall? This wall's falling down. Oh, wow, there's fire coming in. Oh, they just stood there and just ate it forever. It was very confusing, and you kind of have to wonder, like, what are the calls here? They're just sitting there eating that damage. So I don't want to pile on Shikigami. They got 0-3. They know what happened there. They looked a little bit better as the matches went out, but let's just prop up Sentinels. They do have the versatility. There look like no weaknesses on this squad. They look like they figured it out. Is this, well, obviously they're going to be the defending champs, but who am I missing that had great performances that maybe we didn't get to shout out, Mitch?
I think, like, we got to spend some time on Korova. They were unbelievable on the Adam Warlock. Remember that first pick on the Moon Knight that just blew them to smithereens? Mm-hmm. Then I think the Invisible Woman play has been so good. Crazeman got absolutely owned. I'm sorry. It was so hard to get value, I think, as that Venom, especially when you go in and then your shield's unavailable, get yonked back in by a timely force physics and shut down. Korova is absolutely filthy. 2 deaths over the course of all of Symbiotic Surface, 24 assists, and a lot of involvement when it comes to dealing out that damage. I really enjoyed seeing that play out, and it's a tougher job right now, I think, to play strategists. So I've got to give them their flowers. Very well deserved.
Definitely some great synergy, and you guys called it out magnificently too, of just setting up those combos. And for a team that just replaced 33% of the roster, I guess Crimso's not a brand new addition, but playing with the team and just replacing a whole tank line to be able to work well with your strategist and your tank line. Duelist less so. Duelist, you can kind of just be like, hey, go kill stuff, right? It's fine, and that's always been the role in action hero games. But making sure that your vanguards and your strategists are working well together has been really good. Avast, any words about this Sentinels roster before we reveal the MVP?
Yeah, any words? I mean, overall, you should be happy if you're a fan. I think that this is a roster that looks really flexible across the board. They look really good across the board. They have players that are shining on every role right now, which is something that you need to be if you want to continue to be a top team. And not that they weren't a top team before, but just as we move forward throughout the meta, as we make roster changes, things happen. And so I do think that the inevitable march forward of entropy, like, this is where Sentinels just is going to be at potentially a peak coming in here, looking so strong so early on this meta, where some of the teams are lagging behind a little bit.
Well, they looked amazing. Dare I say, Rymazing. It was terrible. Just roll the clip, the highlight. MVP is Rymazing. Deserves it. Looked very, very strong. And in a meta which is not completely settled, but a meta which definitely seems to favor and feature the Human Torch, Rymazing just absolutely lit it up. There's not much else to say. You ban out one of the flyers, you're still going to get hit from above, Mitch.
Yeah, and I thought that the Iron Man play was spectacular as well. Like, when we really sort of least expected it. But So you either need to match the impact of a Human Torch or you need to counter them. I think that's like pretty straightforward stuff. Shikigami did neither of those things. So Ramazing gets to take over these games like, you know, like 50k damage, I think, in an earlier series today. He ends that last map with about 32,000 damage over the course of what ends up being a really short symbiotic surface. And here, of course, like Ramazing is a real problem. Now, we won't say anything about the pulse cannons because there were some difficult moments there. Again, when you're dealing with some tanks with shields, that's acceptable. But you know, quite often you've noticed that these like two Human Torches are just opting out of fighting each other, except when they don't. Melophobia was looking at Ramazing trying to kill them because they were like, I can't output the same impact as this person. Like, what is going on? Are they like, do they have an extra ability I don't know about? You know, so I think that for me like is a really definitive and just seems so comfortable on this hero. Early adopters to the heroes that benefit most from buffs are always going to lead the way. And Sentinels is full of them.
It happens a lot in hero shooters where if you can't deal with that hero, you mirror it and at least get their attention that they have to deal with you a little bit. But in the Sentinel setup where they're protecting Torch and then they're banning Hela like 100% of the time, if you can't mirror the Torch of Ast, what is your best option? Because I think we're going to see this comp at least tried out in the next week or so.
I mean, if you can't play Torch and if you're not able to play the Hela either, then I think that you either need to be focusing in on, okay, let's build a comp that's going to win the ground war, just ignore the air, which is hard, very hard to do because of how much damage, how much ult that gets farmed so consistently for the Human Torch, or you try to find some potential flyers that you feel more comfortable on, or maybe you just remove Human Torch and put you like, so like you're looking to go to Iron Man, you're looking to go to Star-Lord, right? Which is something that Sentinels had to play, right? Because they had bans that went the way of Shikigami where they were forced to play those compositions. But because they felt really comfortable in those comps, it's still a problem playing into them. But there's really not a lot of other options, especially if a team is just removing Hela the entire time.
Ended up being a little bit of a quick day. I mean, not super quick, but Sentinels putting their stamp on the region with authority here as we thought we had things figured out last week. Apparently not, still evolving, but Sentinels laid out the blueprint, 3-0'd their rival in 103 Thieves, 3-0'd Shikigami, who had won 2 in a row in the Rivals Fight Night. Of course, Europe, Virtus Pro took care of business again, dropping a map, though things are getting a little bit closer out in EU. Probably see a rematch next week. I mean, you can't say enough about what Sentinels did. They really kind of redefined what things are looking at right now in North America. As we wrap things up, fellas, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Any final thoughts, anything that you'd like to say before we just kick it out and go about our business the rest of the evening?
Stop banning Hela. Let me see what she does to Human Torch. I don't even know if she can counter him, honestly. I don't know if there is a counter. So keep that one in your back pocket.
I've asked. What do you got?
I mean, I think we've hit just about every 30-year-old plus reference we can today.
Hex is the counter for
More. I have more.
So that's why we need to end it. We need to end it. We got the Zoomers in chat. We need to end the show.
You know what's even lamer than doing like really old school references is me trying to do new cool references. It's way worse.
That'd be so funny.
Let me stay in my lane, and I know who I am. I'm comfortable with it at this point. Thank you so much for joining us, Avast, Mitch. Also, previously, we had Jake and ZP on. Guys, we do this every week, by the way. We've been doing it 8 weeks straight now. That's 2 whole months. We'll be back for 9 next week on Thursday. Tell your friends, everybody, Rivals Fight Night every week, every Thursday. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. Good night.
This actually happened?
Apparently.